Welcome to Magnificent Living Today. Are you living a life of optimal health? Do you want to make changes in your life? Do you need help setting and achieving goals? Are you ready to reform and reshape your mind, body, and spirit? Are you looking for more balance in your life? Many of us are thinking about starting a better lifestyle program, both for ourselves and or our family. We all know how difficult it can be to motivate others when we ourselves are not motivated. Sometimes we all need a little help reaching our goals. And that's why Magnificent Living Today is here for you.
Aloha, and welcome to Magnificent Living Today. I'm your host, Carl Powell, and I'm here with Jennifer and Curtis. We've got some great information for you today. We're going to start next with Mr. Motivator, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
The greatest discovery of my generation is that a human being can alter his life by altering his attitudes of mind. William James.
Welcome back to Magnificent Living Today. We're going to start today with a segment I like to call Mr. Motivator. In Mr. Motivator, I am going to run down my 21 steps to magnificent living, one step every week. And what I challenge you to do is to take that one step and practice that one step for 7 days and see if using that step, how you can reflect that back into your week. Our first step is being proactive. Now, when I wrote my material 20 years ago, proactive wasn't a word that was in the dictionary. Now proactive is an acne cream and it's found its way into the dictionary, meaning being action-oriented. However, I use action-oriented later on in my writing, so we're just going to stick to proactive versus reactive behavior. In reactive behavior, I would put my hand on a flame and move it away, period. In proactive behavior, I would put my hand on the flame, realize it's hot, move my hand away, and then scream. So those little pauses in between, those thoughts that come in between, that's proactivity. So I'm going to talk to my panel, Jennifer Frazier and Curtis Price, and we're going to talk about proactive versus reactive behavior. So I'm going to tell you my story about what proactive behavior has done for me. And Jennifer, you'll like this because this is an update for you.
Okay.
In the winter, when we had the bad snow, I went outside and I was shoveling snow. And I had a neighbor come out and she started screaming and yelling at me, why are you putting snow in front of this truck? And the truck had been parked there for over a month. So I was trying to be courteous to my neighbor who I knew needed to move her car. And so I put the snow in front of the truck that hadn't moved. So my neighbor came running out and she's screaming and she's yelling at me to move the snow. And I said, how long has this truck been here? And she looked at me and she said, 20 days. And then I realized that she had an attitude. And that's when I felt my dominoes start to go down. My blood pressure started to go up. My heart rate started to go up. I wanted to scream and yell, but then I had to go back and be proactive. And I said, you know what? Is this really a conversation that I want to have with someone? Mm-hmm. Now, the update is I always say that when people approach you that way, it's usually not you, and it's usually not that particular situation. But 2 weeks later, her husband died. And I realized that she was just in a place where she just wasn't, she was in a place where she wasn't in a good place. And so anything was going to upset her at that point.
And if it hadn't been you, it would have been someone else.
Right, exactly. So for me to scream and yell at her would have done me no good. Mm-hmm. Right. It would have served her no purpose, and it would have served the world no purpose. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to read my affirmation. I have to pull out my cheat sheet, because if I don't, I'll completely blow it. So the affirmation for being proactive is, no person, place, or thing has power over me. I realize that it's not what happens, but how I choose to respond that is important. You have anything to add?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I get in situations a lot, especially in the store. People will come up to me and they'll ask, well, how do I lose weight? And then for me, the big thing is to cut out sugar. Mm-hmm. And so it's funny, like you'll tell somebody pretty much steps or things that they can do, and they right away are like, I don't want to do that. Mm-hmm. And it's like, well, you asked me for my advice, mm-hmm. or on this particular topic, mm-hmm. and in my head I'm like, well, you can kind of feel you're getting more, I don't want to say frustrated, but
Well, people have to realize their power of choice, because our power of choice really is to choose either to see it as something positive or to see it as something negative. I always tell people when they come to me and they say, "Oh, I want to lose my weight because I hate my stomach."
Right.
And I say, any part of your body you hates you right back.
Right.
So you say you hate your stomach, and it's just going to keep on growing because it's mad at you.
Right.
So your choice is to be reactive. The reaction is, I'm fat, I don't like my stomach. Or you can say, I'm fat, I'm not happy with the way that I look, I realize there are steps that I can take, and then go and find somebody to help you.
Right.
Because we all need a little help.
And I think that's the key that you just pointed out, Carl, finding the steps. So in that instance, Curtis, when you tell a person, okay, you need to cut out sugar, they're immediately going to react and say, no, that's not what I want to do. But what's one small step that I can take to start cutting out sugar?
Right.
And start from there. And that way you can build and maybe not eliminate sugar completely right away, but slowly, take it out from your diet so that you can get to where you want to go.
Yeah, and that's actually what I'm going to get into a little later as well. So,
Yeah. And proactivity doesn't happen in a day, because I catch myself all the time. My favorite thing in Laurel is driving. Now, I don't know if there are no driving schools in Laurel or if people just don't have turn signals, because I don't see anyone ever use a turn signal. I was driving here yesterday. I was driving Montgomery Street. I turned onto Sandy Springs Road. And, I have the right-of-way. And somebody was at the stop sign. He pulled right in front of me. And then he had nerve to get out of his car and start yelling at me. And you know what I did? I waved, I smiled, and I kept driving, because I had a good place to go. I'm going someplace good. You know what? I am not letting you ruin my mood.
I'm not going to let you have control over me.
Right, exactly. Because when you allow other people to choose how you feel about things, then you are giving away your power, your strength.
Yes.
And your strength really is to look at the situation, take yourself outside of the situation, and then say, okay, now if I was outside of the situation, how would I react? Yeah, and it's all about reaction. I like the responsibility. If you break that word in half, it's response-ability, or your ability to respond. And that's what we have to think about in life. We always have to think about our ability to respond. We have the ability, but do we use it?
What's the quote? 90% of what happens to you, or 10% of what happens to you in life.
I know it.
Totally messing it up.
I'll tell you what it is.
90% is how you respond.
10% of what happens to you in life is what happens. The other 90% is how you respond.
Exactly.
To it. Yeah. I thought I'd help you out with that.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to be right back with Jennifer. We're going to take a relationship test.
Yes. So you say you're ready for love. Get ready. Grab a pen and paper right now.
And we'll be right back. Welcome back to Magnificent Living. We're here with Jennifer. I picked up the Ebony magazine, it's the May edition, and I found that there was a relationship test in there. So I said to Jennifer, since I was single and Curtis was married and she was single, because you're going to have to answer some questions too. Don't just think you're going to put me on the spot. We would go through, we would answer 12 of the questions, and then Curtis is going to do it from a married standpoint, I'm going to do it from a single standpoint, Jennifer's going to do it from a relationship coach standpoint.
Yes.
But you also got to give up yourself a little bit.
We'll be happy to do so.
Okay, so we're going to start with the test.
All right. So, and for our viewers at home, you can just mark true or false for each question. So, you all ready?
Do I fail or pass?
Well, you will decide that for yourself. All right. So, question number 1. My list of what I want in a partner focuses on extrinsic qualities: height, income, car, clothes, body type, hair. True or false?
Well, see, now, I would say it was false. But, however, I do, when I meet someone, I look at what they have, not because what they have doesn't represent who they are. And sometimes what people have is detraction for me. Because if you meet someone and they have that Lexus that drives itself and they just have to show it to you and they like to show you all the fun things that they have, then I start to think, I'm really not interested in all those material things, so this isn't very attractive to me. So I think that working in the reverse, sometimes what they have is more of a distraction. Now, I do have a type of person that I would like to be with, but all the things on your list, they don't count into that equation. So I would say false.
False. And I would say false for myself as well. Certainly what the person looks like is important because chemistry is important, but you really want to go deeper than that, go inside the person to see who they are. Of course, like I said, when you first meet someone, you're attracted to the outside. But I find a lot of singles fall into what I call the packaging trap, which is just what's on the outside, how they look, their status, and all of that. But in order to see if this is going to be a person who would make a good partner, you really got to get to know them, who they are on the inside, what are some of their traits and qualities, and do they mesh well with you?
Man, I'm going to say just false.
Just play it safe. False.
No, false. Yeah, false.
All right, so number 2, I am accountable for what happens in my relationships. True or false?
Absolutely not. It's always the other person's fault.
Always the other person to blame.
It couldn't possibly be me. I believe that we are accountable for our actions in the relationship. Now, I can't be responsible for your actions in the relationship. And I also have to be responsible for communicating what I feel about your actions. So I would say pretty much we're both accountable. And I wouldn't say 50-50 because it's not always 50-50. Some days it's 80-20. Some days it's 90-10. It changes. And you just have to go with the flow of that. And so when I make a mistake, then I can say, okay, you know what? 80% of that was my fault. And just being able to say that out loud. But I don't think it's a numbers game either. I don't think that we have to always be in the same place 50-50 because 50-50 doesn't always work.
Right. Yeah, when you're in a relationship, counting numbers and taking score, that is absolutely pointless to do. And life is all about relationships, and the first relationship is the one that we have for ourselves. So understanding, who we are, how we show up in that relationship, what we're bringing to that relationship is important to see. And then, like you said, Carl, you're the only person that you can control. You can't control the other person. So being accountable,
even though I try.
even though you might try, exactly, you're not able to control that person. So being accountable for what I brought to the table, how I reacted, am I learning to be proactive in that relationship?
Yeah.
What would you say, Curtis?
I'd say true. Firm true on that. But no, I mean, looking at what you do personally, and trying to improve on yourself will in turn make the relationship that much more, that much better. Instead of trying to force, or if you have to force somebody to do or to be a certain way, then you probably don't want to be with that person in the long run anyway. So really you shouldn't have to try to conform anybody into whatever it is you want them to be or want to have happen. If you don't come across that if that person isn't giving you that, then you should probably just opt out and keep it moving.
And it's learning to accept the person for who they are.
And I think too, with me, it's when you're single and all you have to worry about is yourself. And once you get into like a true committed relationship,
Married.
and then you have to I may want to go to the gym tonight, but
the baby's crying.
There's certain things that and as I'm growing in the relationship, there's certain things that a knee jerk would have just been like, well, I'm going to go do this.
Right.
Where now it's like, you really have to step back and
take the other person into consideration.
I like that you said growing into the relationship because that's what we have to do. We have to grow into the relationship. It's not going to be automatic.
No, you're evolving every day.
Yeah, you grow where you're planted.
All right, number 3. I lost a past love because I wasn't good enough. True or false? You're laughing. Why?
You know why I'm laughing. There is no part of me that I don't feel is good enough. I'm as good today as I'm going to be. And I might be better tomorrow, and I might have been better yesterday. But I feel like there is no situation where I could say, honestly, that I lost in a relationship because I wasn't good enough. Now they may not have been good enough, but I just don't feel like there's no part of me that feels like I'm not good enough. I mean, when I go home and I look at myself in the mirror, at the end of the day, I can honestly say, Carl, you're doing all right. And there are things that I have to talk to myself about because there are mistakes that I'm going to make. But certainly, I don't think that I'm flawed. So.
And that's, I think, a good attitude to have, because this question really looks at self-worth and your value, how you feel about yourself. And no matter what happened in the relationship, no matter, who might have walked out, you are deserving of love. You are worthy of love. And so knowing that and understanding that is really key, that you get love no matter what.
Right.
And so learn to love yourself. You're learning to love from the inside out, and not thinking that someone else, by walking out, means that you don't get that love.
Right. Yeah. I'm saying false.
Curse is the true and false, guys.
And too, I think that you can then, if somebody left you and walked out on you, then you can actually learn from the experience.
Yes.
I've had relationships that, obviously didn't work out, but, looking at it, there were things that I did in that relationship that would have, quote unquote, justified. It wasn't good, wasn't healthy for the relationship, but at the same time, it wasn't my fault. But I mean, looking at it and then moving forward, that's going to really help you grow as an individual, that now, I'm not going to repeat, or at least try not to repeat that same kind of, quote unquote, mistake, or.
Because you learned from it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Excellent. All right, number 4. My partner should share my values.
Absolutely. I think that there are some things that are negotiable, and there are some things that are absolutely not. And the one thing is faith. I could not be with a person that wasn't faithful. If they didn't have some kind of faith, something that they believed in, that would be a distraction for me. I couldn't be with a person who wasn't living with a positive mental attitude. Because in my work, I get a lot of people who come in who ask me to help them develop a positive mental attitude. I don't want to have to go home at the end of the day and then try to train you on the same thing that I did all day long. So when I come home and I ask you how your day was, I want to hear, great. And you could say, great, I had a car accident, you know what I mean? But at the end of the day, as long as it was great, as long as you can find a lesson, as long as you can find the value in your day, because I don't want to come home and listen to what went wrong. I want to come home and listen to what was right. And so I think that when you break life down to what the most important values are, I want you to value my heart, which means value in my heart means that you're not going to go out there and do anything that's going to hurt me. And if you don't have that same value as me, then you have to hit the door. If you don't, like I said, if you don't value your faith, then, or your spirituality, I can't get together with that. If you don't take care of your temple, because we have an amazing thing, this magnificent body that we're given, and I believe that we're obligated to take care of that. So if that person is not taking care of their temple, then I really can't respect that. So I truly believe that values are the most important part, and that's the link to once you get past the lust and the, oh, I love the way that you look and I love your hair and da-da-da-da-da. When you get past that, the very next step you reach is the values. That's the very next thing you see, because they send out their best representative.
Yes.
Yeah. And then once the best representative starts to get a little bit weary, a little bit tired, that's when the questions of values come up. And I think that's the time to open your ears and really listen.
Yeah, absolutely, Carl. I mean, your values, whether you realize you have them or not, or whether you know what they are or not, we all have values. And so it's important to understand what they are, which is why I tell singles to, write them down, figure out what's important to you before you go out and start dating. And you want to make sure that you select your partner a partner who's in alignment with them. And like you said, you might have a value of health and fitness. You're going to be very unhappy if you choose a partner who doesn't share that same value, because while you're exercising and taking care of your body, they might be at home eating junk food, not working out, and so there's going to be a lot of consternation in that relationship. So you want to definitely, not only for yourself, live in alignment with your values, but select a partner who also shares those values.
Definitely. I mean, I'm a true.
True that.
But yeah, I mean, that's the, knowing what you want, regardless of what it is, knowing what you truly want, what's going to make you happy, and then not settling.
Yes.
Not settling. And that kind of goes like with the first question. So many people out here are so the material side of things that you just focus on that not really paying any attention, the person is showing you essentially who they are. Now, if you are reading through it and seeing these flags and you're cool with it, that's one thing. But if you know that you don't want somebody down the road that's going to be a couch potato, well then, no matter how fine she is, now, you know, if you know that she has these kind of traits, it's going to come out eventually. So when
Look at her mother.
yeah. I mean, but
Yeah.
that's a whole nother.
That's a whole nother show, right?
We won't go there.
But you're absolutely right. I always say when someone shows you who they are, believe them. You know, don't, you know, think you can change them. Don't think that they're, you know, magically going to change. Believe what they're showing you. Believe who they are. And if that's not someone that you can see yourself with from the beginning, don't waste any more time. You know, don't settle.
I mean, there's so many people out here that will literally, for the sake of being in a relationship, just settle for a bunch of BS. And it's like, well, you know, it's going to come back to smack you in the head eventually. You know, it may not be this month, it may not be this year, but sooner than later, you're not going to be happy.
Yeah.
And it's like, would you rather just be in a relationship just for the sake of being in a relationship, or, you know, be happy and be single, or be happy and
be Carl.
And be Carl. Too much Carl. All right, let's go to question number 5. I possess most of the qualities on my partner list.
I would say, see, I'm going to sound so conceited again. Here I go. I would say yes, because I purposely, daily, work on myself. And I ask myself the important questions, you know. Are you taking care of life? Are you taking care of the things around your life? Are you noticing who you are? I have my favorite aunt, and she always tells me I like myself too much. And I always say, what does that mean?
Is that possible?
Is that possible? Because I do work on myself all the time. You know, I'm very focused in on my work. I'm very focused in on my family. I love that I'm right now being at home and living with my mom and taking care of her and taking her on walks, and all of those things are very, very important to me. So I think that the person who I choose would have to have some relationship with their family. Because I meet people and they say, well, I don't talk to my family anymore. Bad sign for me. If I meet someone and they say, I don't like my mother, ouch.
Red flag.
Red flag. No, that can't work for me. So I just say, yeah, we have to meet in the middle, but there are some things that are just not negotiable in there. So I work on the parts of me that I think may not be negotiable. Because there are some feelings that I'm very much a loner. You know, I can sit and play solitaire for 4 or 5 hours. Now,
wow. Yes.
Because I like to win. You know, you don't understand, so I play until I win. And for some people, that's not negotiable. 4 hours on the computer is just not going to work.
Right.
So I do have to make compromises in there.
Right.
Yeah, on my list.
on your list. And I agree with that. That would be true for me as well. Anything that I ask for in a partner, I'm more than willing to give in return. So if I want a loving partner, then I need to be loving. If I want someone who's generous and responsible, I need to be those things too. And it's looking within to see who I am and what type of relationship do I want. And really understanding that in order to attract someone who has those qualities, because like does attract like, I need to be that way as well.
Yeah. Repeat the question.
I possess most of the qualities on my partner list.
I better.
Or you're in big trouble.
Nah, I'd say true.
Good.
I'd definitely say true. Yeah.
All right, so number 6. Within a month, I refer to a new romantic interest as my boyfriend or girlfriend.
Within a month.
Within a month. I would have to say false. I would say that for the first 6 months, I would refer to you as my friend. I do believe, however, in reading one book at a time. I don't want to date 2 or 3 people at a time because, for me, that's way too confusing. You know, if I'm taking the time to learn you, then that's going to be a study. And if I'm studying, I'm reading your book and I'm reading these 2 books, somewhere along the line I'm going to mix up the books and make a mistake somewhere. So I always say one that I would definitely stick to that one person, learn that person, but I wouldn't give them a label until they gave me one. They can just call me darling.
You know, Carl, you're so funny. This is certainly, well, first of all, that is false for me as well. You know, I would not label someone as a boyfriend 1 month into dating him. And I find that a lot of singles fall into this trap, and it's one that I call the date to mate trap. So you start dating someone, and then you instantly become this couple, and you feel that, or you believe that as long as you keep dating this person, that an exclusive relationship is automatically going to happen. And so what I find is it's important, and everyone's approach to it is differently. Carl, you might not want to date more than one person at a time. I might want to date more than one person at a time so I can get to know them and figure out, okay, who is it that, you know, has the traits why are you laughing? Who has the traits I'm looking for? And, you know, where would there be some longevity in a relationship? Like, which person would I find that longevity in? So it's important, again, figuring out what it is that you want, what you're looking for, but don't rush into a committed relationship too soon. Really take the time to get to know the person and, like you said, understand who he is and, as you say, study him or her and really know what they're about before you become committed.
I always find it's funny when people bring up that little the little phrase in the beginning, well, if we were dating, or if we were married, or I could never marry you, because then when those things start to come up repeatedly, I realize that this is a person who is definitely ready to be in a relationship right now. And so I stay away from that kind of verbiage, and I try to always stick to as we get to know each other better, which leads to I want to know you better, and I'm also extending my hand for you to show me your true self.
Yes.
Yeah, because a lot of people don't extend that hand. And I think it's very important to extend the hand and say, now, here's who I am. My hand is open. And that's the way that I show my hand. And you show me your hand, and now we can decide if this is going to work. If you're holding back, or you're giving me just this much of you, then this is all that I'm going to realize, and I might just decide to walk away because I needed the other 3 fingers. So, yeah.
And like you said, in that first month, the representatives are out. So you're not always seeing that true self. You're not. And so as you're dating that person, you really want to find, we talked about values. You know, does this person share the values that are important to me? Because you might say one thing, but you're doing something else. So I need that time to really see who you are.
And you have to watch out for the pretenders, because there are people who will find you, read you, and become exactly what they know
you're looking for.
And they can do that for a while, but sooner or later, that's going to break.
Yes.
You're not going to be able to hold that act forever. So I always caution people that the best representative is out, and sometimes the representative is an imposter. And so really look for the signs for the imposter, because the imposter, they're lurking. They're lurking.
They're lurking, and there's no need to rush. There really isn't. Take your time in getting to know someone. What do you have to say about that?
Well, this kind of
He's just smiling.
I know, and you're laughing at me.
No, I wasn't laughing actually, because the question takes me back to like a previous place.
Okay.
You know, and I was, you know, a player is an understatement. So I used to, you know, it was kind of, I had fun. You know, I read multiple books.
Tell us about those days. What tips can you share so we know what to look out for?
Well, no, you know what? The one thing I guess I can say about my previous, I wouldn't say behavior, but or how I was I was very upfront.
Okay.
I wouldn't, you know, try to be like, well, I'm gonna, you know, we're dating, and now I'm gonna go out with her. I didn't date anybody. You know, we would hang out. We have, you know, I had friends and relationships, but it wasn't a, you know.
I think that's a whole nother show, that hanging out and not dating. Ladies, I have a tip for you on that one, too.
But like my mom always said, when you find the right one, you're going to know.
Yeah.
And like, you know, my wife and I, we actually met on MySpace.
Okay.
Wow, cool. Things I didn't know about you.
Literally met on MySpace, and one time she was like, I don't know, you know, how we met, and I was like, just crazy how we met, and I was like, you know, you had a good search engine. And, but we met on MySpace.
You had a good search engine too.
And like we literally within, because we corresponded via, and that's even dating us because it was MySpace.
Right.
You know, and we actually finally met and hung out, and it was just like right away. It was pretty instant in a way. You know, after the third.
You got to know each other though over MySpace and everything.
Yeah, it was kind of weird because it took out a lot of the beginning.
The awkwardness of.
Yeah. Now it was awkward in and of itself because here it is a person that you've been corresponding with on a computer, and now you're meeting them face to face, and it's like, well, you know, what you gonna really look like?
Right.
You know, you can put a picture up.
Yes.
But there are people out there that do.
Yes.
Put your real picture
That's your high school picture, or is that a...
No, not 10 years ago. Put your picture up today.
Been there, done that.
Let's get back
I haven't put the picture up, but
get back to the test.
yes, we do digress. All right, let's go on to number 7. I understand the pattern in my past choices of partners. True or false?
I would have to say false.
Understand the pattern of my...
So the partners that you're picking, do you understand, is there a pattern, number one, and do you understand what that pattern is? Because sometimes when you're out there dating, you know, you might tend to select women who really need to be taken care of. They want you to take care of their every need. Or you might select men where you have to fulfill this motherly role that you feel that, you know, you need to mother them. So do you understand what your patterns are, and, you know, if it's not something that you're happy with, how to break those patterns so that you make different choices? And so, Carl, you said false, right?
Yeah, I said false.
Okay.
But I do realize that there's a pattern with people that meet me.
How so?
Because my energy is outward and I'm bubbly, people think that they can meet me and then absorb that energy that I exude to become more like me.
I call them vampires. They just try to suck all that
but
life
that doesn't
from you.
work. It just doesn't work at all. So what's the point I'm trying to make? You just got to be very, very careful that you're picking the person for the right reason, but they're picking you for the right reason. And I think a lot of people are out there and they're lost. And so they find you and they see you and they see that you're directed, and they think, okay, this person, I'll just follow their direction. So I found a lot of times in my relationships what happens is I end up leading just because that's the way that it flows. Right. But I lead all day long. You know, I lead in my business, I lead in my classes, I lead in my personal training sessions. When I get home, the last thing I want to do is lead. I want not even to be pampered, but just to be equal. Yeah. You know.
Right.
Yeah, I know at one point in my life, I had a tendency of picking men who were emotionally unavailable, not realizing that that's what I was doing. So after sitting down and just reviewing all of the relationships I'd been in and looking at what are the common traits, what's the commonalities between all of them besides me, and, you know, figuring out that, wow, this is something I need to look out for. If a man is not available to me emotionally when I meet him, that's a red flag for me, so that I can take notice and, yeah, turn the other way.
Someone once said to me that the common denominator in any relationship that you're in is you. Yes.
It is you.
I think this too goes into knowing you and knowing yourself, and then what you actually, what makes you happy and what you want out of a relationship, and then not settling for anything else. You know, so I mean, there are traits in past relationships that I've had, but they're good traits, you know, which I'd like to think that have
carried through to the current
kind
relationship.
of like navigating all these different waters in a way. It's like, well, okay, well, that person had that, and then now this person has that, and it's kind of like you pulling the positive out and kind of trying to repeat that, and then, you know, now my wife has it all.
Lucky Paula.
Yes. All right, number 8. I've got my guard up so I won't be hurt again. True or false?
Okay, now I have to say true. Because I've only been single for about 7 months, 8 months. And I think that I learned a very valuable lesson in my last relationship. I'm not going to go into that lesson. But what I learned is that I do tend to let my guard down because I'm the open hand player. And sometimes being the open hand player gives people too much of a chance to read you and become who they think who they think you need them to be. And so what I've learned is not to open up my hand so quickly and to just do one finger at a time. So this is a part of me. Are we feeling this? Is this working? Here's another part of me. And then if I see a part that's not working for me, I take one back and I say, okay. So I do tend to be more guarded at 50 because right now I'm looking for the relationship that's going to, go through the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And so I'm not looking for 5 years or 5 months or 5 weeks and I don't, I think life is too valuable, especially at 50, because I'm coming towards the end of the road to waste any of my.
You're just beginning, Carl.
Yeah, well, I'm not, but I'm driving that way. You know what I mean? I'm not going backwards. I'm going forward. So going forward, I just have to say that I think that I do want to make sure that I do choose the right person, and so I'm not going to be quick, and I'm not going to walk into it without defenseless, because when you walk with all of your guards down, you're bound to get knocked down. So I think, yes, I am a little guarded.
I find that analogy that you describe about laying, or communicating one finger at a time, it's kind of like peeling an onion. So you're slowly peeling back the layers, getting to know someone. And then when something happens where, okay, there's a disconnect or we don't agree, it's just exploring like what that is, and is this a relationship that I want to continue? I find sometimes when we've been hurt that it's hard to let down our guard and be that vulnerable again, because getting hurt in a relationship, that can be really traumatic. But I also find that sometimes when you're so guarded, it really blocks love from coming to you. So it's understanding how to find that balance where you can still be vulnerable enough to open up to love, but not feel like you're giving yourself completely away.
No, I'm like this. I'm being real careful. I'm like, you sure?
You still want to be able to, let love come to you and come through you. But, I could completely understand, when we've been hurt, it's hard to just, be completely open.
I mean, I'm completely open to being in a relationship, but I'm in no hurry. And so that's why I say I can keep my guard up, because the truth of the matter, I'm being patient. And that's one of the lessons that I'm taking in for myself, is learning how to be patient. Because I don't think that I've ever been single more than 3 months in my entire life. So this is a whole new thing, being single even for 7.
And you're learning how to be single.
Yeah, we're just coming up, so I read the question.
Any thoughts, Curtis?
Yeah, well, I used to be very guarded.
Okay.
After my last relationship, I was hands up, elbows. I was very guarded. And getting hurt really sucks.
Yeah.
I don't know who wants to get hurt.
Yeah.
So I was very anti-relationship until just it happened. And it couldn't have planned it. Wasn't quote unquote looking for it.
And was it a process of slowly letting your guard down so that you could get to know that person, or how did you work through it?
It kind of happened where it happened. It was like I wanted to be with that person, and everything else just went out the window. So it wasn't even a long drawn out process or a long
She had the key.
process.
She said, I see the gate and I got the key.
It was just like
and some people do. Some people just have the key, and it just flows that way.
Yeah. Before that, though, it was not getting through this.
I know. Okay, so for number 9, there's a bit of an echo.
Yeah, you hear that?
All right, so number 9, I've put distance between me and those who would create drama in my life. True or false?
True. Got no time for drama.
And why is that important?
Got time for it. That's drama. It's just negative energy. Negative energy, negativity. I just don't have time for it. I don't like to entertain it. I don't like to watch it. To me, it just drains you, distracts you of other things that you could be doing more positive. And
yeah, it's absolutely true for me. I definitely surround myself with happy, loving people. I don't want to be around someone who's going to be causing me stress and chaos and all of that. I want to be around people who add and multiply in my life instead of subtracting and dividing. So that's really important to me so that I can stay grounded and focused on where I want to go.
Yeah, and I'm on Mary J. Blige's page. No more drama.
I love it.
You know, really, no more drama. And I'm not just speaking in relationship, because I've had to cut family members loose. It just constantly, it's drama.
Yeah.
And what I've learned is that drama affects my central nervous system. It makes me sweat, just like I was talking about being proactive. It's that domino thing. I start to sweat and I start to get angry, and I get that call from that family member who I'm not really feeling, and they every single time take me to a place that I don't want to go. And then one day I just say, you know what? I'm not going there anymore. And so I think it's very, very important to verbalize that you've taken me to a place that I don't want to go, and I'm not going to go there again. And for that reason, because I think you need to be clear, for that reason, I'm cutting you loose. And the same in relationship. If I'm with someone and I keep catching those same dramatic events happening over and over again, why didn't you call me? You didn't get my 300 texts? If I got them and I didn't answer them, there's probably a reason why. You know, but when I see someone pulling in that drama, when I'm texting someone and they can text me back faster than I can text them, then I know there's something wrong with that person. Because if you can't sit long enough to let me answer the text before
receive the response.
Yeah, receive what I'm saying to you, then that's a person who's not listening. That's a person who is just talking. And people who don't listen tend to be the drama queens. Yeah, because they're sitting there, and instead of them trying to find how can I answer you, they're already trying to answer you or trying to evaluate what you're going to say next, anticipate you. But what they're really doing is they are actually making the story up for themselves.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of, I mean, you know, I think that with TV and with the shows that are on, you know, there's so much drama out here.
That's what's thriving, all the reality shows.
Yeah, and it's like when you really look at it, it's not reality.
No.
It's a scripted show.
Yeah.
That is not reality. And they're actually getting to a point where they're getting so much more, the women, and I do watch the Housewives of whatever.
Guilty pleasure too.
Joy's marriage, right?
You know every housewife.
And at times it's comedy. To me, it's all comedy.
Yeah.
You know, but
It's entertaining.
But when you look at it from when they've started a few years ago to what they are now, the level of hate and like
Bitterness,
it's gone up so much, and you know, or I know that it's for ratings.
Right.
So it's not like they're even catty with each other because there was an actual issue there. They're catty just so that more people tune in to watch it. But then you have people out there that are looking at that, that are taking that in
and trying to live it,
and thinking that, oh,
That's
this
real
is,
life.
You know, she has a new purse. Wow, she has to be doing good. This is how I should act. And it's just like, I mean, you know, and that's that drama. That's that just negative energy out there that if you can look at it for comedy or for entertainment, that's one thing. But if you look at it, and then people that kind of really surround themselves with that, look at what they're bringing to themselves in their in their personal relationship.
Well, they have it in their personal life, and that's all around them. So they have no choice but to be that.
Exactly.
So all their if you talk to them, you start to realize that work is a drama for them.
Everything.
Their family is a drama for them.
Just walking to the store is going to be drama. Something's going to happen.
Driving is a drama for them.
Yeah.
And when you start to say, okay, you know what? I had a good day. You know, a couple of things happened, and they may not have been the most positive.
Right.
But at the end of the day, I can look at it and still say it was a good day, and I didn't purposely do anything to pull drama towards me.
Right.
Unless I turned on Celebrity Apprentice, because then I'm asking for drama. But it's in the television. It's in case they can't reach out and punch me in the throat, so I'm good. You know?
And it's entertaining,
Yeah,
so,
right.
you know.
It's entertaining when it's not happening to you.
When it's not happening to you. Very true. Okay, number 10. I can make my partner a better person. True or false? And I think we touched on this a little bit.
I think we have talked about it.
Yeah.
I think true and false. I'm going to stick to false, but I'm going to say it's true in that sometimes when you treat somebody well and they've never been treated well before, it does make them a better person. You know, putting rose petals on the bed, doing considerate things, because there are some people that have never had a real man treat them the way they need to be treated.
Show them love.
Show them love.
Yeah.
And so sometimes when you show people your love, when you give them your love, you help them become a better person. But not because you did it. It's because you showed them and they became a better person. I didn't make you a better person. I can lead you, you know, here I go leading again. But I can lead you down the way. I can show you what romance is. But I can't make you a better person.
And I would agree with you, Carl. I mean, I'm thinking you can't be the puppet master where you're trying to pull the strings and make someone be someone that they're not. But certainly when you show them acts of love, you're, you know, kind and generous, that can't help but rub off on somebody else. And they want to be able to do the same. And so I think that it increases, you know, their energy and, you know, their love towards you, and learning to love themselves as well so that they can do the same in return.
Yeah. I think it's big on, you know, leading by example. So that's the, you know, when my wife and I first started dating, I don't eat carbs, right? I don't eat processed carbs, or, you know, I eat a certain way. So she'd always, you know, wanted to cook, this and that. So by me leading by, this is how I do, this is how I live, she's naturally kind of taken on these habits or these traits. And in turn, it's made her better physically, from the standpoint of, we just had a child. The weight she gained was literally baby weight. She didn't just gain pounding food all day long, you know, which it's really a sandwich is all you need caloric when you're pregnant. But you know, having these things kind of like just ingrained, she's feeding off of me. Now I wasn't forcing her, you got to eat, you got to do this, got to do that. This is just how I do things, and you just kind of naturally gravitate towards that, and then you kind of that lead by example. So there's that time to lead, you know, and by me setting, this is how I do, you can do the same or not, you know, I still love you.
It's your choice.
Exactly, you know, but this is how I do things, and being upfront with that in the beginning, you know, and even for the individual to not wear the masks. You know, we can look at other people like, oh, you know, what are the red flags from them? But for you to be, hey, this is who I am. If I don't, you know, if I say if I drink Diet Coke, I'm not going to be sitting there, you know, a month later pounding regular Coke. You know, what I'm giving you is who I am. Now you can like it, or if you just like regular Coke and you hate Diet Coke, it may not be a good relationship. You know, it may not be working out. You know what I mean? But at least I've given you. Here I am. This is what you're getting. You know, you like it or not.
And that's such a good point you made, Curtis. Like, yes, you're looking at the other person, but also remember, you can't be wearing that mask yourself and not, you know, try to be manipulative and trying to control the other person. I mean, that's not the type of relationship.
And you can't let that person make you a worse person. You couldn't say you met someone and they wanted to eat fast food all the time. And just because they wanted to eat fast food all the time and you wanted to be with them, then you went out and you ate fast food all the time, and it made you a worse person. You know, then you wouldn't be feeling good about yourself.
And you're not being true to who you really are. Because you know that's not you.
But for you, boo.
Yeah, but for you, boo, we'll eat.
Supersize it.
Supersize it.
Okay, number 11. My partner will end my money problems. True or false?
Only God can enter that realm.
False on that.
Yes, and I totally agree. I mean, this is what a lot of singles might fall into, which is what I call the rescue trap, where they think that if they're with a partner, that he or she is going to end their money problems, like they hit the jackpot or something.
Oh no, that's going to only be the argument.
And it's understanding that you need to resolve whatever emotional or financial challenges you might be experiencing, and not to look to that other person to be, you know, your source or to solve you know, all the problems that you have.
Because people out there running credit checks on you now. You know, you start dating and they're like, what is their credit score? So, but not important to me, because I believe that a person is only as good as their values and their abilities.
Right. And that even, you know, if there are people out there going that into like, well, what's your credit score, kind of, you know, that kind of energy of like looking at stuff like that, then they're falling into the first question. All they're concerned about is what car you drive.
Right.
What's this? What's that? You know, my credit score is probably horrible. Yet the kind of person that I am, and then what I'm doing in my life is priceless.
Yeah.
You know? So
Priceless.
So like you can't really, you know, you can't look at, you know, again, that
Looking at the outside and not taking into account who is this person, what are their values, are they practicing what they preach?
right. Because I know if I hit the lotto tomorrow, you know, my wife is going to be with me. If I lose it all 2 days later,
She's still going to be with you.
And that's the most important thing.
Yeah.
Through thick and thin, right?
you know, that money is just, you know, it just buys material. I mean,
What did the Beatles say? Money can't buy you love?
Yeah.
No, it cannot.
Money can't buy you class.
Is that how it goes?
Well, I know one of those housewives songs.
Oh,
Money can't buy you class.
See, you've been watching way too many housewives.
No idea. I mean, you have no idea. It's Housewives New York.
All right, the final question is, I've learned to enjoy the single life. True or false?
It's over for you, buddy.
Yeah, I enjoyed the single life.
I enjoy being with myself. I enjoy me. I enjoy studying. I enjoy learning. And sometimes relationship prohibits you from doing all of those things. So I think that what I'm learning this time, being single, is that being single, one, is not a terrible thing. Because when I was younger, to me, being single was a terrible thing, because I'm a relationship-oriented person. So if I wasn't in a relationship, then to me that represented maybe that I wasn't a relationship-oriented person, and maybe that's what other people would see. So I ran and rushed to get in a relationship so people saw, see, he's back in a relationship. So I didn't allow myself the freedom to find out many things about myself, because I was always in a relationship, or if not in a relationship, seeking one. I find at this juncture, I am seeking friendship, I am seeking companionship, but I'm not seeking a relationship. If it happens, it happens. But that's not my focus, and it always has been. So I'm saying that in this period in my life, that's just what I'm learning, is enjoying being single. Enjoying, I always say that I get to choose how I feel in the morning. Because if I wake up and we're married and you say, you know, you're in a bad mood this morning, I have to wear that for the rest of the day. And even though I wasn't in a bad mood when I woke up, now you've told me that, I start to feed into it, and now I go to work and I'm in a bad mood. Whereas I wake up in the morning and I look at myself in the mirror and say, you know what, Carl, you're magnificent today, and I move that way. So I find that often not having that other person's opinion has been very, very helpful to me. So I'm learning that being single and learning how to enjoy being single is going to make me a better partner. And I think that that's the allowance that I didn't give myself before, was time to find out who I was, what I really liked, what food do I really like. I remember getting out of my relationship, and the first time I went to the grocery store to buy food, and I thought, well, what do I even like? Or what am I going to cook? Because I spent 8 years letting somebody make all those decisions for me. So immediately I went out and got cookbooks and started cooking, and made that my hobby, and which is making me a better person, and it'll make me better for my next relationship. But I'll never fall back into the trap of, I'll let you handle all of this.
Right.
So, yeah.
And you hit the nail right on the head, Carl. This question is true for me as well. I'm enjoying being single. Being single is not a disease. So
It's not a four-letter word.
It really, really isn't. And enjoying, you know, this unique time period in your life to really learn who you are and what you want out of life. I consider myself a student of life, so I always enjoy learning new things. And so it's figuring out, you know, who am I? You know, how do I want to be in this world? What are my dreams? And go after those dreams. I run into a lot of singles, and they don't want to dine alone, or they don't want to use the good china, unless they had someone special to share it with, or, even buy a house or go on that vacation because they don't have someone. And instead, learn how to do those things on your own. I mean, your life, as you build the life you want, the partner that you desire is going to come into it because you're living that loving, fulfilling life already. He can't or she can't help but be attracted to you.
Right. I mean, that's like with myself. I still I still enjoy being single. And I say that from the standpoint of I've learned that I can make myself happy. Like, I can have fun going to the gym. And that's kind of how I gravitated into like boxing. That was my personal vent or out, that I go in and I just like, boom, I'm morphed in this thing, and I enjoy my time with myself. Even though I'm married, I still have the things that I do that I personally enjoy, and I don't need to be all up on her or her all, like.
And that's a syndrome, the all up on you syndrome.
Yeah.
People get together and they never separate. They're together day and night, or they wake up, go to work, come home, and then they're together for the rest of the night, which I don't think is healthy.
Right. There's no other outside interest.
Don't you have friends that you can go visit, or can't you go somewhere else for a couple of days without me? Or, but some people just don't want to do that. Everything has to be together, and I always say too much togetherness is not good.
Just by having that outlet, Curtis, and you tell me, I think it just makes your relationship even richer because you can come back and share different experiences that you've had and continue to build on it.
Even when I was single, this one girl, I'd go out to eat a lot, single. So I'd go out to eat a lot, but I'd always read. I like sports, but I won't sit at a restaurant or like just say a Fridays and be sitting there glued to TV watching sports. So I'd be in there, I'd read. And I was talking to one girl at one point, I was talking to somebody, and she
ex-contender.
And she was like, what did you do last night? I was like, I went out to eat. She's like, who'd you go with? I was like, I went by myself. She's like, oh, that's so sad. And I was like, I had a book. Actually, I was like,
I had a friend.
She's like, I could never go out by myself. And I'm like, that's sad.
Yeah.
That you can't, that you have to have
with
something, going on and this and that. I was like, if we would have went out together, I would have actually been more disappointed sitting there with you because I wouldn't have been able to read or take my note, because that's what, but for me, that was, I'm going to go out, I'm going to have a nice dinner.
And that's what you wanted to do.
And I'm going to sit there, I'm going to read, work on some stuff, and chill. I didn't need all the drama or the, now there's a time and place, hey, we're going to go out, that's cool. But, to be happy with yourself is then going to make your relationship eventually, better.
Because if you're a happy single, you're going to be happy in a couple. You can't be a miserable single and then expect to be, happy in a couple.
Yeah, exactly what I was going to say is most people think they can be a miserable individual, and then they get into a coupled relationship, and everything's just going to be better.
Exactly.
I'm going to meet this person, then they're going to complete me. I always say, be complete.
That's a movie. That was just a line from a movie. Right. You're right. You want to be complete before you get into that relationship. Yeah. Learn what you love to do and do it before, that partner comes along. So, well, thank you, gentlemen, for taking our quiz today. I certainly enjoyed it, and I learned a lot about myself as well. I mean, these questions really helped us to dig deeper, and were very insightful. Any final thoughts?
I just want to tell people to please pick this up and take this test, because there are probably about 30 questions, and that was only 12 of them, and it took us a little bit of time and a little bit of thought to get through 12. So it's probably going to take you a couple of days. But if you take the test and you find your results, you can always send them to us, and the address will be at the end of the show. We're going to break now, and we'll be back with Curtis. And Curtis, what do you have for us?
Basically, I'm going to give you guys some healthy tips on how to naturally shed unwanted pounds with your daily eating.
And springtime is here, and summertime is coming, so we're ready for that. We'll be right back.